My name is Horst Heitz from SME Connect. SME Connect is not an association, it's a network of 35 business associations. And we have a very strong topic on micro businesses. And we want also to emphasize this topic because we're speaking often about startups, about hidden champions, but the majority of SMEs are really small. This is the hairdresser, this is the consultant. There's a very much variation of businesses, and they are the real backbones of our economy. The second topic is rural areas. I think this is something what is a difficult topic. We know that we need infrastructure for rural areas, that we have problems sometimes that rural areas stay lively, so there are positive developments, but in some regions we have really problems that the villages, the smaller cities are becoming empty, that we have hubs, strong hubs, where a very strong concentration of businesses are. And we want to discuss today, in fact, what we can do with digitalization. It's not always, often we are thinking of digitalization, e-commerce or something. It's destroying city centers, perhaps. This is often in the past discussion. But in fact, it's giving also, and this is, I think, after COVID or with COVID, one of the few positive effects, that digitalization is a new selling channel for services and goods and new opportunities for SMEs. And I'm very happy that we have Damian Böselager, MEP, Member of the European Parliament, from Volt, from the Greens, that you are here today. And I would give you now the political opening. This is always the most interesting part, what politics are thinking about this. And at the end, you have a little bit of time, we will ask you for your solutions. So, because the Commission is not here, normally we ask always the Commission for the solutions. Now it's up to you. Mr. Böselager, the floor is yours.
Yes, first of all, thanks a lot for the invitation. I have to say that I find the discussions with the experts often more interesting and insightful than what politicians have to say, but this is for you all to judge. Maybe I can just give a bit of a background of where I'm coming from. 2 weeks ago, I went to the US to talk to some people there about the current situation, also around ICE, but also about the White House policy. And then last weekend, so the weekend before the last one, I was at the Munich Security Conference and listening a bit to the conversations there and all the great things that European leaders are currently planning. And I think what it left me with is an overall feeling that we in Europe haven't really understood the need for sovereignty. And I really never liked this term so much because I have to give it to the French that they were a bit faster than than the Germans, at least with accepting such a reality. But I think it's really a security prerogative to become competitive. And I think in this context, this is where we fall in with the topic that you bring forward. And I think the main and easy thing that we could do is to really push the single market. I mean, I work a lot on Capital Markets Union and on many other issues, and I'll mention a couple. But I think the one thing that we should all understand is that the time for national solutions in this global context is over. And it's actually the case that all continents are looking at Europe right now of how we're going to react to the current situations. I've heard this from Chinese, from Japanese, from African leaders. They're all trying to understand what Europe is going to do. And I think when it comes to the single market, sadly, in Europe, we don't really have anything that is currently being done that has any relevance. Here, I mean, the only thing that the Commission President mentions from time to time is the EU Inc., which is the idea of having one corporate form across all EU member states. And that is a very nice idea that I'm very supportive of. But especially if you look at rural areas at the borders of member states, you understand that so much could be done. So much could be done for smaller and micro enterprises when it comes to the single market. And this is, I think, the first point I want to make is how come that in this situation where Mark Carney is really getting rid of all the tariffs for products and services in Canada because he has understood that he has a problem with his biggest trade partner, how come that we in this time do not take every measure necessary to make it as simple as possible to trade across borders, and that our basically, sorry, I'm missing a word. Handwerker, what's the term? Sorry, I had a long day. Um, for our craft.
Handcraft.
Say again?
Handcraft. Handcraft. Handcraft is Handwerk. Oh, no. Sorry. I
No, but
forgot.
anyways,
You mean workforce, maybe?
yes, like let's say the workforce that yeah. Anyways, our workforce often has to actually get a double insurance if they live in our borders. They have to get an insurance in country A and B, and they get for every crossing to, for example, repair a roof, they need to get a paper form filled. I mean, that is a state that is seems small, but especially in border regions, which very often are not, city regions, but more rural regions, this is a real issue. And I think it all derives from the understanding that we live where we work, and that we pay taxes where we work, and that we also benefit from public services where we work. And that is just not true anymore. And I think if we really want to take, and that's my second point, advantage of the digital decentralizing effects that we have by people being able to work remotely, we also need to look at the overall model of where do I pay taxes, where am I employed, and how am I taking or making use of public services that are being paid for with the taxes. To make it very simple, a lot of the companies I talk to use an American company. Thank you. Craftman's apparently is a good term. A lot of companies I talk to use an American company to hire people in other EU countries. Yeah? So they're called remote.com or deal. So if you want to hire someone in another country, you'd rather let them be hired by remote.com, because then they can just bill you for the services, and you do not have to open a tax base in the second member state. That is madness. Yeah, like the idea that we use, it doesn't matter if it's American or any other third country service providers, to be able to hire people in the internal market is madness, and is something that I think just shows that our national protectionism has really brought us to a situation where we are halting progress massively. So this is just on the labor side. Of course, I could go through all the requirements when it comes to capital. But I want to make a third point that is a bit broader, and that is the current ongoing negotiations in Europe. I mean, I'm currently negotiating the NRPP, so the basically cohesion follow-up, agriculture follow-up, that is a bit organized according to what we did for the Corona recovery funds, a so-called performance-based instrument. And I just think that here we also, in the negotiations, need to make sure that when we are distributing public funds, that it really benefits also smaller companies and not just large companies. And that's something I think where we, need to think about SME, but also startup focus, and potentially in our industrial policy also on quotas. I think that's something that is really important because it's so much easier for the public sector to spend time on a couple of large tickets, and then the money is distributed rather than going through the hustle of supporting a lot of smaller companies, which often then is better done by promotion banks and via their local banks. And I think that's something that just we need to look at. And the last point I want to make is on de minimis clauses. I think in general, it's great that we have a simplification agenda going. I have to say that the simplification omnibuses that I negotiated so far are completely insufficient to relax a bureaucratic burden. And they're either deregulation, which you can be in favor or against, but it's definitely not simplification on most of the parts that I negotiated, be it the InvestEU or the one that I'm currently doing is Digital Omnibus. I feel that if we really wanted to reduce the regulatory burden, especially for smaller companies, we need to make use of de minimis clauses. So basically exempting small and medium-sized businesses. You can decide on which level, for a lot of these regulations, in order to make it simpler also in the countryside. Okay, so I mean, there's so many more topics to talk about, but maybe I'll just leave it there, and I'm very interested to hear the experts and their opinions on the matter. And I'm very happy then that I have the chance at the end to maybe show that I learn from you in some of the ideas.
Thank you so much that you give us the big pictures, all the broad overview, what is related with SMEs and with what is going on in Brussels from Washington to the omnibuses. But we will go now and starting with the European Commission. Angelo Zacchetti, he is from DG Agri and he is, I have to, I'm mixed now the full title. Yeah. Program Manager, Rural Areas and Networks. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation once again. You hear me loud and clear, huh? Sorry, I'm always worried that I have some technical issues. I'm happy you hear me. Very pleased to contribute to this discussion on reviving rural entrepreneurship through digital tools. I think this topic goes well beyond digitalization and it touches the structural future of agriculture, food system, and rural territories in Europe. As it was said, I'm in DG Agri, program manager. I deal with especially in connectivity in rural areas, and I'm here to provide you with a sort of state of play, a general understanding of what are the policies that we are currently working on in Agri to make sure that rural areas stay vibrant and not underserviced as unfortunately is today in some aspects. So the current state of play, very briefly, I believe agriculture and food are no longer seen as traditional sectors in need of support. They are increasingly recognized as strategic sectors. And the European Commission Vision for Agriculture and Food 2040, I believe, underlines that very clearly. This was a publication published February 2025, so basically a year ago. We are now in the process of drafting and adapting such vision in our policies. Food security, resilience of supply chains, environmental sustainability, competitiveness, and rural vitality are, I believe, are now part of a single strategic agenda that all DGs here at the Commission share. Just to give you some concrete numbers, the agri-food system in Europe generates more than 900 billion euros of added value and supports around 30 million jobs. At the same time, I believe it faces profound structural pressure these days, income instability, as it was mentioned, climate change, let's not forget about it, unfortunately, geopolitical disruptions, input dependency, and as mentioned, demographic decline. One fact that really illustrates the demographic challenge very clearly is that only around 12% of the EU farmers are under 40. And in parallel, agricultural income per worker remains significantly below the average wage in the rest of the economy. So these are not marginal figures. They affect, as you well know, the attractiveness, the investment capacity, the generational renewal. So, however, having said that, I believe that along these challenges, there are emerging signals that deserve attention. For many years, rural Europe was associated mainly with outmigration, as we said, economic contraction, and this trend is still present in many regions, unfortunately. But at the same time, I believe that we are observing new dynamics. There is growing interest among younger generation in sustainable farming, in regenerative agriculture, local food system, renewable energy production, hybrid rural business models. Okay, so some professionals who previously would have remained in urban centers are now exploring maybe the opportunities in rural areas, particularly when remote work and digital connectivity allow for a greater flexibility. The entrepreneurs are developing agri-tech services, precision farming solutions, supply chain models. Okay, in certain regions, rural areas are no longer only production spaces; they are becoming innovation spaces. This, of course, does not mean that a large-scale return to countryside is happening, unfortunately, or at least is not happening uniformly across Europe. The trend is uneven and fragile, but it's still enough, I believe, to merit policy attention. Okay, a central enabling factor in this transformation is connectivity, and this is really something very dear to me. The digitalization is reshaping agriculture and rural business models. Precision farming and technologies can reduce input cost, optimize resource use, satellite data, and remote sensing simplify compliance and improve decision making. AI can support disease detection in the field, the yield prediction, risk management, and e-commerce, as I'm sure examples will show. E-commerce platform allow producers to reach really consumers directly. So the vision that I was talking at the beginning identifies this digitalization, data integration, and AI as key drivers of competitiveness and sustainability in agriculture. Adoption, though, remains uneven. In many rural areas, broadband coverage is insufficient or unreliable. Okay, digital skills, the gaps in digital skills persist, and so for a small and medium-sized farm, for example, the upfront costs can be of such digital tools can be prohibitive. So without robust connectivity, digital agriculture remains theoretical. Without digital literacy, tools remain underused. If rural entrepreneurship is to grow, digital infrastructure must be treated as core economic infrastructure. So we're not talking about connectivity, not only about as social inclusion, but it's about productivity, innovation, and competitiveness. But digital tools alone cannot solve structural issues in rural areas. If we look at the direction proposed in the vision, the ambition is to create an agri-food system that is attractive, competitive, sustainable, fair. Attractive means providing income perspectives that allow planning, investment, generational renewal. Competitive means reducing strategic dependencies, diversifying supply chains, okay, and strengthening resilience to global shocks, as we are currently aware. Sustainable means operating within environmental boundaries, so contributing to climate objectives, restoring ecosystems, and fair means ensuring that the cost and benefits of transition are more equitably distributed. So to conclude, do I see a clear trend of people coming back to rural areas? As I said, I would say that we see early signs of repositioning rural areas within the European economic landscape. The shift is not yet demographic transformation at scale, but it's strategic repositioning. Rural territories are increasingly linked to Europe green transition, digital transition, energy transition. The question is whether this repositioning will translate into sustained demographic and entrepreneurial renewal. So I think that three conditions seem particularly important. First, as I was mentioning, universal and reliable connectivity. Without it, digital tools cannot deliver their potential. And on this, I believe we are clear. Second, a fairer economic framework for primary producer and rural SMEs, because if income volatility and value chain imbalances persist, entrepreneurship will remain constrained. Third, territorial investment that goes beyond agriculture alone, ensuring that services, mobility, and quality of life in rural areas happen. So the task ahead is to ensure that connectivity, innovation, and fair economic conditions reinforce really each other. If these elements are coherently implemented, rural areas can become stable and a pillar of Europe economic resilience and strategic autonomy, rather than territories that are in permanent adjustment. So this is the policy perspective that we need to maintain as we discuss digital tools and rural entrepreneurship. Having said that, I'm really looking forward to exchange with you and to hear examples of SMEs in rural and bridging how they bridge the gap in rural areas.
Thank you so much. I think you gave us now one of this, what you are always connecting with rural areas, farmers. They need infrastructure, but they are becoming also high-tech companies. I know also from my area in Bavaria, they have also their web shops, they have advertisement, they have selling, they have direct selling because the supermarkets don't pay so much for the goods and products.
Indeed.
So they're selling it directly to the consumers. So digitalization is something also becoming independent from only to sell to some certain market stakeholders. But we have now also other SMEs, smaller companies, micro businesses, but also solo entrepreneurs or startups as companies who making a transition, made already the transition. We're starting here with Italy. Ellen See, I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. No problem.
Please help me.
It's Cherokee.
Cherokee.
But I know it's really hard, so don't worry, it's fine.
This is only if you have the pre-call and you say only Elena.
Yeah, Elena is more than enough.
Yeah. You took over a business, in fact, indirectly, or you go in the same business like your family worked in the past, and you modernizing it.
Yeah.
So please tell us, you are in a rural area, how you're using digital tools, so what is the strategic momentum for you, or what it means for you, and why a young person like you are deciding, I want to go in this sector and I want to be in the rural area. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here today and to discuss these really important topics with all of you. I really hope that we can come up with some good solutions for it. First of all, I'll introduce myself. So as we said, my name is Elena. I'm 24 and I recently started my own business in Italy. I first worked abroad for many years to experience a little bit more how this sector went, and then I decided to go back home and help the family with the family business. I worked in the field of floriculture, and for those of you who don't maybe know a lot about it, floriculture is a branch of agriculture, and in this sector, the core business is mainly the growth and sale of ornamental plants and flowers. So the business that I've just started in Italy is basically selling plants and flowers to the local businesses around the area. And the main reason why I decided to leave the Netherlands and go back to Italy to, modernize this business is that I saw a big potential in the company. But at the same time, I also saw that we were a lot behind compared to the Netherlands, compared to other countries in Europe that are really ahead in terms of digitalization, in terms of how efficient our processes are, and so on. So I decided to embrace this challenge because I really think that through digitalization, we could really make a lot of our processes just like more efficient, faster, more cost effective. And this would not only benefit my business by itself, but also all the communities around me. So like all the rural communities around us. As we mentioned at the beginning, the transition in this company, the generational transition in this company was not like that traditional. I started my own business from scratch, and this for a lot of young entrepreneurs like me is of course something exciting, but also a really big challenge because as we know, when you start, you start from nothing. So if you want to bring big changes in the business, like the one of digitalization, then you really need to have some support, and not only in terms of people supporting you, but of course in terms of also like financing. And at the moment, what I see, the biggest challenges that I see in this business is just like not enough education in this topic. So the companies like mine are not do not have this thing of digitalization as their main focus in the everyday challenges. And the ones who have it, then they have problems in accessing the right funding. So also just the better access to funding, but also just getting through with the bureaucracy and the time that is going through between the presentation of a certain project and the actual approval of the project, or the start of the work for the implementation of a software or something like that. So digitalization by itself is a really important topic that could really change and shape businesses in a totally different way in the rural areas. It could bring back people to the rural areas, and not only people in general, but especially young entrepreneurs. But it's true that we are facing many challenges, at least in Italy. Other countries in Europe are well better off because some businesses like this are more like the center of the economy. But in Italy, there are some rural areas that are really left a little bit behind. So, and then, I mean, how can these businesses really benefit from a better like digital infrastructure? Then I would say that the main points are, first of all, more visibility. So you can just reach your customers better, even from rural areas. So without leaving the rural areas, you can really just like make yourself visible out there. Second of all, as already mentioned, just have your just increase the efficiency of your processes and reduce costs in many cases. Then you have better with the softwares available nowadays. You would have better stock management, just a more accurate stock management. You can give your customers the possibility to buy online, to use a web shop, to also receive fresher products in some cases. So the entire buying and selling process would just run smoother, both for the companies and for the end customer. So the benefits are like never ending. We could talk about it for hours. But then when we come to the real practice of the everyday job, then I see that especially small and medium enterprises like mine, they really struggle to get these digital tools into the daily business. So I think that the European Union is really, of course, busy with it and doing really some effort for it, but it's still really hard for many countries in Italy to get access to these digital tools and to just really make them part of the daily task. Actually, yeah.
Is this what you say? It's hard. Is this knowledge gaps? Is this finance gaps? Is this infrastructure gaps, or what you would say?
I would say that is for sure infrastructure gap, which then leads to knowledge gap. So it's kind of a chain reaction, you know. So because people cannot easily get access to funding, then they're not starting with it. So if we would just start, if certain companies would start getting better access to digital tools, then this would increase the connectivity among businesses. So this would increase the focus that businesses place on the education of and knowledge of these digital tools also among their employees. So this would create like a chain reaction that would just like boost each other and just make all the other businesses around flourish. That's what I believe. Because the gaps are in many different areas at the moment.
Thanks much. I think this is a good first view from an SME, from reshaping a traditional sector. It's an input to Angelo, what he said. But we're going now to Sonia Piper. I think you made the full digital transition from the beginning until now. So in fact, like Elena starting new, you have already this experience with new to implement new technologies. Please share this experience with us and why you are still in the rural area, and also that you're expanding also analog in the city. Please, applause. Muted, and you still we cannot hear you. You're muted.
Oh, excuse me. I'm here. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Sonja Pepaert. I am the founder and the CEO of The Baby's Corner, a 30-year-old family retail business in Belgium. We are based in a smaller town, but we operate through 3 integrated sales channels. Our physical stores, our web shop, and our birth list platform, which is our core revenue driver. We have 1 large flagship store in Nazareth, 2,500 square meters, and 2 city stores. So I will just share my screen so you can have a look at our website, web shop. Do you see it now? Yes? Do you hear me?
Yes, we see it.
Okay. So parents come to us for personal advice in the store. At the same time, they manage their birth list online. And you can see it on the website here. Friends and family can buy gifts either in the shop or through the web shop. So our business is fully connected. Now, for a company based outside a big city, digital tools have been essential. They allow us to reach customers far beyond our local region and remain competitive in a fast-changing market. Also, over the past 30 years, we have implemented 2 full ERP systems, and thus the whole company is changing. So I can speak about digital transformation, because you have to rethink your business when you're ready for it. The most recent one was completed in August 24. For this project, we chose a system that allows additional applications to be connected. So we could build 1 integrated ecosystem instead of using many separate tools. This was a condition for us. So I can say that an SME should stay as close as possible to standard solutions, according to my experience. But customization increase is sometimes it's necessary, but it increases complexity and cost. So it's not always possible to stay fully within the standard, because every business has specific processes. But because everything is connected, stock and customer data must always be correct, and keeping stock accurate across all channels remains one of the biggest challenges for us. Then I have something to say about our birth list. They are personalized. So the digital tool must give customers the same service they receive in the store. Simple, clear, and supportive. But for implementation, this is a high level of implementation, I should say, and also the budget. But when logistics, web shop, and store systems work together, digital tools create real growth. So the potential is very real. But the path is not simple. Each ERP implementation lasted more than 2 years. And during transition, we had to run 2 systems in parallel. This created stock inconsistencies and logistical problems. And for a period, we lost visibility on our data. And when stock is unreliable, customer trust is affected. So we had many problems during the project. And then I must say that digital transition is also about people. You need key users inside the company, and they must be trained early. They need to understand how the new system affects their daily work. Another thing is that testing is extremely important during the implementation. Many problems only become visible during realistic testing. We also learned that having an internal project lead makes a big difference. This person acts as a bridge between the SME and the IT provider because we talk another language. So he is very interesting that you have such kind of person on board. Another barrier concerns contracts. The real issues often appear after go live. If aftercare is not clearly included in the contract, the SME must negotiate additional costs. At the moment, it depends completely on the system. And in many cases, most of the financial risk sits with the entrepreneur. So it's risky. Based on this experience, I see several areas where European policy could better support SMEs. First, digital transition must start with strategy, not software. SMEs need support in reviewing their business model before choosing tools. Second, structured preparation should become standard. For example, through clear requests for information templates that help entrepreneurs map their processes and compare suppliers based on facts. Third, clearer contract standards are needed, scope definitions, transparent rules for budget changes, and clearly defined aftercare should be better protected. Contracts should also clearly define ownership of custom developments and intellectual property, especially when open ecosystems are used. It must be clear who owns the developments, who owns the IP, and what happens if the SME changes provider. Fourth, risk allocation should be more balanced. Digital transition should be a partnership, not a one-sided exposure. So I can say digital transition is not about installing software. It is about strengthening the business model. And if we want rural SMEs to succeed, we must support them in that full transformation. So that's the question, if it's possible. And it's my experience. I hope it was a clear exposition.
Thank you so much. I think this is, you show us how your deep experience with this, that you have this strategic approach, how
Yes.
to invent this, that is cost, it takes long time. And if you make a mistake, you're losing not only the investment, you're losing also your customers. And it is about the full supply chain, and it's complicated. And it's really also an investment. So I think this is very useful, because if you're doing the wrong approach, then you have, of course, a damage, and that is the digital transformation obstacle. So we're coming now to Mr. Werner Witte. He is entrepreneur from Bavaria. You are started as a solo entrepreneur, now you have employees. Please show us your, explain us your experience and what you would advise and what you would also recommend to the European Union, please.
Okay, thank you so much for invitation. I will share my presentation. Just a second. So, yes, as I mentioned before, my name is Werner Witte, founder and owner of Witte Marketing. Right now, we are a 4-person digital marketing agency based in a small town with 7,000 people, 60 kilometers east of Munich, right in rural Bavaria. I started 2008 as a solopreneur, and my first employee comes 10 years later. Actually, our entire business model is built on digital-first approach. Everything we do, from strategy, custom app development, web design, to specific custom tools, happened mostly in the cloud. We use tools like Nifty PM for project management, where we collaborate internally and sometimes with customer as well. We use Moco for offers, invoicing, and time tracking, Zapier for process automation, Adobe and Canva for creative tasks. We work with various online tools, with AI acting as a great equal opportunity facilitator. Tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and specialized agents like Manus AI enable our small team of 4 to deliver speed and quality across a wide range of tasks. Our concrete example, or one concrete example, our programmer works 100% remotely from another German state, nearly 500 kilometers away. Thanks to cloud cooperation and video tools like Zoom, geography has become completely irrelevant for the quality of our work. Now I have to be honest, I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a 200 megabit down and 40 megabit up connection at my location. This is the absolute foundation of my business. But this is not the norm in a rural area. Many of my colleagues are still struggling with unstable or slow connections. When we talk about bridging the gap, we cannot rely on luck or geography. Connectivity must be treated as a fundamental right, just like access to electricity. An SME should never be forced to move to the city just because the fiber optic expansion stops at the village border. Looking ahead, I see 2 critical areas where policy action is needed to unlock the full potential of rural entrepreneurship. First of all, regulation clarity for practitioners. The EU AI Act is over approximately 500 pages. Small teams like mine don't have a legal department to analyze complex regulations. We need compliance by design to build the tools we use, and clear, simple guidelines for practitioners, not just lawyers. Second, micro grants for micro businesses. EU funding programs must be accessible for teams, for small teams, without months of paperwork. We need fast-track micro grants specifically for software implementation, AI training, and digital upskilling with minimal bureaucracy. Rural entrepreneurship isn't about nostalgia or preserving the past. It's about economic resilience, innovation, and territorial cohesion. With the right infrastructure, the right policies, and the right support, we can turn rural areas into digital innovation hubs that contribute to Europe's comprehensiveness and strategic autonomy. Yes, that's my part.
Thank you so much. You gave us really also a perspective here, a strategic. We saw with this picture how different the opportunities are in rural areas. That it's if you say your colleagues have not a good connection, this is really like you have to move away from this region. And this is, I think, from a political point of view, nothing we want to have. We have this concentration, we have housing as policy in Europe. At the same time, we don't do everything that we can really avoid this concentrating agglomerations where you have to work because your working place must be there because of infrastructure or your consumers.
Right.
Thomas, you're from Ireland, and it's your daily business to connect SMEs. Please, what is your experience with infrastructure and it's going in the right direction? What is Europe is doing about this? Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Horst, and thank you very much, MEP Boslager, for your introductory comments and all the other panelists. We Wireless Connect is a fixed wireless operator operating in the Midlands of Ireland. Fixed wireless is basically just using effectively radio equipment from rooftop to mountaintop, and then backhauled onto fiber in the city. So it was our mission 20 years ago. We were founded 20 years ago when my business partner and colleague couldn't get internet in rural Tipperary. And so we started the business. And being honest, one of the key enablers for us to start the business was license exempt spectrum and spectrum sharing, which I'm pleased to see in the DNA is quite a focus. And like low cost equipment, like Wi-Fi equipment. So rather than very expensive proprietary telco standards, open internet standards and low cost computing equipment was actually a key enabler for us. And I suppose also that the fact that when we were starting out, the internet standards are quite accessible. So just to give you an insight, only a few grand, you only need a few €1,000 to actually really extend the internet into your own locality. And that's Wi-Fi is a key enabler of that. And so for us, what we'd like to see more of is, I suppose, keeping the low barrier of entry to solving connectivity problems at home, in your business, or in your community. And I share Werner's insights in terms of the connectivity and the needs for that, and obviously the importance of smaller players in the market, especially in rural areas where they actually know the market and they know the local area. One of the key things I would also say about Angelo's is about quality of life is that, you know, when you're farmers and local businesses, you want to go out somewhere to eat, you want to enjoy. So if you can actually have connectivity and employment in rural Ireland, that means then they have somewhere they want to eat, somewhere they want to go for a few drinks after work. And one of the great things I've seen is like in Terry Glass in Tipperary, where my partner lives, is that a second pub has opened up and an investment in a restaurant and a shop. So instead of it being one pub town, it actually has a community. There's two pubs there, and there's a real vibrance around the town since that second pub has opened. And we actually incidentally provide connectivity to that restaurant, and it is one of those good success stories. And I suppose a key thing I'd see about sovereignty is to empower the citizen to host their own data, manage their own data, just like what Sonia was talking about. It's not just about buying software, but it's actually about access to your own data and being able to host it if you feel it's appropriate in your own business, or obviously making it a cloud aware or cloud available for scalability. And I think that's a crucial aspect of it. And so that empowerment of the citizen, like even in the aftermath of the storms, we saw, you know, the resilience of the smaller operators was much better. Why? Because we work with farmers. Farmers were clearing roads of, you know, downed trees and stuff like that. And it was about a community effort. And sometimes I think Europe thinks top down as opposed to just empowering citizens to actually solve their own problems. And I really enjoyed Angelo's insights there in terms of, you know, and the Commission's awareness of let's say the rural challenges. And for us, we see it every day that, like, I can give you an example. One of the businesses that we took over and we used to advise, it was a lawyer who used to travel to London, and he got tired of it and he wanted to actually stay and work at home. And so he set up an ISP. And we're not unique. There's thousands of us across the European Union. And in ways, sometimes we think of, you know, they talk about consolidation and three big players for all of Europe, when I actually think we should just empower citizens to solve problems in their own locality and let the competition flourish that way from the ground up. And certainly for us, it's been a positive experience. We've been part of the connectivity landscape in rural Ireland for the last 20 years, and we hope we're part of the connectivity landscape across Europe for the next 20 years as well. So I suppose that's the key thing, is that we want other things, just to be absolutely clear, is also standards like network neutrality and open internet access has been a clear positive for businesses. And up to recently, the focus in Europe has been increasing capacity at the end user. That's really important. And I think there's very good options in the Digital Networks Act in terms of spectrum sharing, but there are some worries about, let's say, net neutrality and a network slicing, which I think could be worrying, because network slicing is basically, instead of making the pie bigger, you control who gets which slice of the cake. And we'd be kind of saying, make the cake bigger, just focus on capacity rather than controlling congestion. And so but I have to say, many of our customers have been, let's say, explaining to us that if we didn't provide them connectivity, they would have had to move to more urban centres in Ireland. And we're thankful to have been part of the digital transition in Ireland. And there's thousands of us across the European Union who are doing it. And we'd like, I suppose, our policymakers to recognise that and encourage that, and take the advantage, with the upcoming DNA, to really enable small businesses to solve connectivity at a rural areas, to enable all these great businesses that we're hearing about today. Thank you.
Thank you so much that you give us also this other side of an SME here. But we want to go to Google here, who is a provider of a lot of digital tools for SMEs. You have perhaps more insight, data, and the perspective. Please, Betsy, your floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to welcome me. Just to give you an insight about from where I'm talking about, right? I work in the public affairs team in Google, but before that, for 10 years, I helped large companies and small companies in how to use at their best the digital marketing tools. And what I'm going to share with you is really about this experience. So I think with all these testimonials, we can agree that for a long time, right, the story of rural Europe was the story of distance. Distance from markets, distance from capital, and distance from opportunity. But I can see with all your stories, and thank you for sharing that as we sit here in 2026, the situation has shifted. If you want to launch your company today in the countryside, distance, if you have the connectivity, right, distance is less of a burden. Why? Because digital tools have effectively decoupled the economic opportunity from geography. So we are no longer defined by where we stand, but by how we connect. So today, one-person organic soap company in the mountains of Greece, or a freelance digital designer or marketing agencies like Werner's one in Poland or in Germany, has the same digital storefront as a boutique in Paris. So the gap is closing, which is great, right? But a digital storefront is only valuable if people can actually find it. And that brings us to the practical reality of developing a small business in the countryside. As you shared with us, as solo entrepreneur or small company, you don't have a marketing department. You don't have an IT team. You don't have a data analyst. I mean, all that is for large companies. You have yourselves and sometimes a small team. So to compete and to succeed, you need tools that can act kind of a virtual staff, I would say, just to do the heavy lifting of finding the buyers, the consumers at a cost that actually makes sense. And I would like to give you an example just to show how the marketing tools help on that front. Let's imagine a family-run olive oil mill in a remote part of Andalusia. By using tools like the search, maps, but it could be any other type of marketing tools, really. They are not just selling to the next town over. They are precisely reaching the specific, let's say, a few thousands gourmet food enthusiasts in Berlin, in Stockholm, or in Paris, who are searching right now an organic cold-pressed oil. So here we can see the match. But without that specific targeting, and on a limited budget, of course, those potential buyers would be invisible to them. So said otherwise, this family business build a presence online, which is great, but they don't just hope to be found online. They use personalized advertising to proactively find their buyers across the continent. So that's an example, but that's also confirmed by the data. We regularly survey SMBs across Europe, and they say that for 76% of them, personalized advertising is the primary way to compete and develop their business, to find their buyers. And it's not just about selling, and I heard that in your testimonials. It's also about territorial cohesion, because it allows these entrepreneurs to stay in their communities, to preserve their heritage if they have a special know-how and still thrive in a global marketplace, which is great. So I think we can be proud of that, and it's great that these companies can access that. The question is, what's next? Because we know that digital is moving fast, and with AI has been mentioned several times during your sharing, we know it's gonna change a little bit. And I would say that it's probably just the beginning of the opportunity for the SMBs. Why? Because of how people are changing their behaviors online, and because of what we see they expect now from their shopping experience. And I'm in a good position to share that with you because we see how people are searching online, so we can see the underlying trend and the change in behaviors. So currently, let's be clear, shopping has become kind of a time-consuming research project, right? I mean, we have marketplaces everywhere. It's massive. The choice can also become overwhelming, let's say. So paradoxically, it's actually become harder for people to find products that fit their criteria, that fit even their values, whether that's eco-friendly materials, products made in Europe, or local artisanal crafts, paradoxically. I mean, it's somewhere, but it's not easy to find it. But over the last year, something quite remarkable has really happened. As you know, we have enriched massively AI in our search experience. And what we see is that people are interacting with the internet differently now. I mean, search is no longer about just keywords. That's the old formula. Now, consumers are asking much longer, much more complex questions that are 2 to 3 times the length of a traditional search. So just to give you an example, they are not just typing, I want to buy a wool blanket anymore. No, we don't see that anymore. They are asking, for instance, where can I find a hand-woven wool blanket made in a traditional European workshop using sustainable dyes, for instance, and for a price under 100 euros. That's a typical research that we're seeing now on the search engine. Okay, this is a tough question. I mean, it's not easy to provide an accurate and relevant answer to such long and complex questions, but that represents, honestly, a new breed of conscious, demanding consumers who know exactly what they want. And this is exactly, I think, where the opportunity lies for the SMEs, because AI and commerce are going to work together more and more, I would say like a sophisticated matchmaker. So instead of just listing links, the search engine can now go through this complex request and bridge the gap between a shopper and the niche artisan who meets every one of these criteria. So that means for SMBs that in this new world of consumers' expectations, you don't need to be the biggest to succeed. You just need to be the most relevant. So your heritage, your know-how, your local materials, your process, the way you're making your process work, your ethical standards, if you have some, your value are no longer a niche. It's not the right way of looking at this because they are becoming your greatest competitive advantages. So if I'm exaggerating a bit, it is possible that what we're going to see in the coming months and years is that we're going to move away from a kind of a one-size-fits-all world toward a digital landscape that celebrates or at least allows for more diversity and actively connects quality with demand, opening, I think, really personally, a world of new opportunities for SMBs. So as a conclusion, what I would like to say is that to make that happen, it is important that these opportunities, that we commit to several essential pillars. I think you have done an amazing work in listing the prerequisites you need to be successful. I would like to remind one thing, which is the infrastructure. The infrastructure must be there. We agree on that. The digital tools are only as powerful as the networks they run on. That's a fact. And second, this is something you haven't mentioned, but I would like to underline this point to finish. Personalized advertising and personalization in general must be protected and recognized by the policy environment. It's not just technical features, it's the underlying tools that allow the smallest businesses in Europe to be seen and to grow. So food for thought, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is super exciting what you say, that AI is a chance that very niche or very small companies will be fine, because the consumer wants has a clear picture what he wants or she wants, and this leads then to the shops. Sonia, but you are also in your business, you are directly in touch with consumers and give advices, consulting them for your products. Is
Yes.
this now an additional value, or is this a competition for you?
What do you mean an additional value or
Yeah,
competition?
because I see that also that AI that give much more, it's more specific for the products, for the services, but instead AI is starting also to consult, so that there is already some layer between you. Is this an additional value for you to say, yeah, because the AI is not perfect, the humans are trusting humans in the end, that it's even better for you that somebody is informed by AI coming to you and getting the professional advice what to buy for a baby?
Well, I must say we are doing a lot of things already with AI. My son, who is working at the company and who is the digital data specialist, he works with AI for his programmation in the system and also to do smart things. I'm more specialized with the marketing communication. How must we say something? How must we do the writing on the website? Because I see already that AI of Google is looking and looking for an answer, to give an answer when people are questioning some things. So it's my purpose to be also in that explanation of Google. I must say I didn't tell that I'm also a writer. So in 2020, I published my first book to help moms, and that was the start of a mom community. I just have to say that I used the text of my book. I wrote 3 books, and I use the platform as a separately community. It's the community who is anti-commercial. I don't know if I say it's good. It's more community writing and so on. So for that, I want to do smart things with the Baby's Corner as a retail company, and on the other hand, I have my own company as a writer and books and podcast, and it's my purpose to combine both in a smart context, so I can give impulse to AI to say the answer that we, the Baby's Corner or Onder Mamas, are know the answer. When people are looking for products or looking for some answer, moms have a lot of questions, and among all things, not also about products, but also about the health or the children, or when they are pregnant and so on. So I want to capture that in the mom community and use some smart things in the retail company. So I'm searching to combine and to be in the answer of AI.
Thank you so much. Werner, you are coming from the marketing sector. You heard also something about advertisements, selling channels. How you see this trend, AI, and also we have also more restriction with personal ads. What it means for you now, and as a marketing expert, perhaps you can make also a link to where you are from the rural area, because I think the problem is that you have to find for your service and products consumers, clients, and then if you before you have to go to the clients. Now the client can find you. Is this a really a change? How you would see this?
So actually, my customers come to me via reference. So someone tells somebody about the work with me, and then I get a call, I get an email, and stuff like that. Existing customers asking sometimes, what about AI? So it's SAO, search engine optimization, was in the past. Now we are talking about GEO, optimization for AI. But the typical rural customer isn't looking for this. So a typical rural customer is looking for someone who helps with finding employees. We do this via Meta, so advertisement on Instagram and Facebook. We do this with ads on it's Kleinanzeigen in Germany. So
More advertisements. Yeah, I don't know.
And we help them to promote their stuff on regular tools. So we use affiliates.
No, please.
And we do Google Ads as well. So one of my employees is doing the stuff with the certificate of Google. I think every 2 months she had to do this training, and afterwards she got a new certificate that we are enabled to do Google Ads for our customers. But yes, mostly our biggest ads customer are located in greater area Munich, so in not in the rural area, and on the land side, it's not really interesting to do this great advertisement.
So in fact, for you, this personalized ads is already classical. This is what they demand, and this AI is still not this topic for your rural areas clients.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. As a big digital ads is this what is, and the certificate. Perhaps Betsy, you can tell me this. Is this because Google becomes complex, or why they have always to make a certificate? Or it's a new regulation coming up?
No, it's a signal that we're helping the agencies to give to their client that they have been trained, they know the product, so it's a quality label.
Oh, perfect. Elena, you were once, I think you told me in the pre-call that is a very traditional sector. Your supply chain is you say Netherlands is or Germany is a little bit better in this area. There are two questions. Your supply chain, is this digitalized or is this then analog? And second, how you want to sell in the future your flowers? Flowers have a freshness limited area that you can transport this. You will not send it to Brazil, I think. Huh?
No.
So how you want to find customers? Digital ads, AI, how you see this future, or you want to use everything?
Well, so the supplier part of the business at the moment is, let's say, partially digitalized. It's really up to the customer, like my company, let's say, to decide through which channel to buy certain products. So some companies just do it via the web shop, which is really exactly what I'm looking, what I'm trying to find to do. Other companies still do it in a very traditional way, so just like writing emails or even calling. So it's really something in 2026 we are not used to, because if we think about buying products and we just think about, okay, I can just buy it online, I can just maybe do this part of the supplying part just digitally. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I would like to just move all the supplying part in like to the digital side, because it's just like more efficient, faster. And then instead for the selling part, that's also what I would like to do. So like just shifting this traditional way of selling to the use of the web shop, which means educating also your customers to this way of buying. So at the moment, it's still like traditional way. That's like, let's say, let's go to the supermarket and buy what I need. But what I would like to do in the future is to really like implement the web shop and use the web shop to supply my products to my customers, and then added to that in a more long-term way, let's say. Of course, I would love to use AI and other kind of advertisement to just increase my business as well. So I would say that right now is a matter of short-term or and long-term objectives. So in the short term, it's really like a way of, okay, how do we fix the supplying and selling part of our products? So as I said, using the web shop, and then in a more long-term way, okay, how do we expand? And then in this case, AI and other kind of advertisement, I think are just fundamental to do that.
Very good. I think if all SMEs now scaling up like you or have these plans to use AI and digitalization, Angelo, it is not only a question of infrastructure, it's a question of infrastructure, but not only to connect, it's also an energy question and everything. And we saw from Werner also that the regions are quite different connected. Which are the plans of the European Union to solve this? Of course, it's also membership responsibilities, but is there, do you talk about programs, but is there a strategy where you say we need energy, we need connections? There's even water is relevant for cooling down the system, gigafactories. It's all together what's coming up here, a bunch.
Yeah. So regarding, I was also looking at the question. Indeed, someone mentioned even in large cities like Munich, no, people and business face weak signals. Going back to the connectivity, indeed, as also the other panelists mentioned, that there is a general need for strong, high quality networks across the board in cities and in rural regions. It means not only 5G and fiber, but as the other panelists said, also open solution like free Wi-Fi offered by business without too complicated legal requirements. Europe has the capability, but as we were discussing, the real barriers are slow procedures, the fragmented rules and regulatory complexity, which we try to to make it seamless and smooth and solve. Then, of course, there is a link between connectivity and energy on several fronts, and the EU is addressing this, making sure both to secure the power supply for digital infrastructure and to reduce the energy footprint. There are initiatives like Repower EU and broader energy market reforms. The EU is working to increase renewable energy production and to diversify the supply, to modernize the electricity grids. And this matters because, as you mentioned, the data centers, the future gigafactories, but even telecom networks and then 5G infrastructure, they depend on stable grid access and sufficient capacity. We are introducing energy efficiency rules, and we are supporting renewable power data centers. So many data center operators in Europe are shifting towards renewable energy, and there is indeed a support in investing in smart grid, digital energy systems, even the digital decade targets and the telecom reform discussion that we are having. The EU is trying to accelerate, this deployment of high capacity network while ensuring that they align with sustainability and climate goals. We recognize that the digital infrastructure and the energy systems are are interdependent. The policy direction is to ensure that connectivity expands in a way that is energy efficient and powered increasingly by renewables and supported by modernized grids. So the challenge is speed and coordination. Okay, so making sure that energy planning and the digital infrastructure deployment are aligned across member states, making sure that everybody's going on the same speed.
Tom, you want to add something here?
Yeah, just on Angelo's point there, I think in terms of the green sustainability agenda, and obviously for MEP Buslager as well, the connectivity obviously reduces the connectivity in rural areas, also reduces the amount of congestion in cities in terms of the commute, and data centers are part and parcel of that. So while we would see obviously with the transition to data centers and data center energy demand, we're also reducing the demand on the transport system as well by enabling remote working. Like, for instance, traditionally we would have all had to fly to Brussels to into your wonderful office to have this. Only a few years ago, Horst, that would be the only way, and we'd all be getting plane tickets, with the exception of Angelo maybe and MEP Buslager, but the rest of us would have had to join you, and there'd be a video of us on stage or something. So I think that's a really key part of it as well, that telecoms and networks and data centers actually reduce energy demands in other sectors of the economy because of what they enable. And I think it's a really important aspect, and it's important that policymakers be aware of that. In terms also for the resilience and sovereignty, having multiple local operators is much more preferable, and infrastructure competition is much more preferable than, let's say, having one telecoms provider and then everyone reselling the same infrastructure. So I'd like to see more of that. And I suppose that's part of enabling a vibrant ecosystem. I actually never mentioned, but yeah, we would have also done a lot of advertising, and we would have seen a benefit of locally targeted advertising on the internet, and that was a massive it was very important for our business as well. And we would have seen let's say, an inward demand, and most of our inward demand was either it was a split between word of mouth and basically targeted ads where people were saying, "Oh, you look like you're in Tipperary. Would you like some broadband?" And that's and that has been a useful driver for our business as well. Thank you.
I want now to give you a little bit message, but now also your time to think about this one or two wishes to the European Union. You can think now while I'm talking. What you would say, what would really help you, and what you say, it's a political matter, but could be also a wish to digital providers. This is good. Is also an opportunity. ESME Connect is connecting between politics, science, and also larger players, because there's your partners, your competitors, and your clients all at the same time. And perhaps you can think something about this. What I learned here is that this is a well-known infrastructure is a key. That there are some areas where are very well connected and others not. We had also comments also in cities is not always on the same level. So it is not only a problem of the rural areas, but it's key because otherwise you cannot do your business anymore. Second, Betsy was mentioning you can sell your products in the whole world. But I understood now from our 3 examples, they are selling locally. But when my father was an SME owner, locally was his quarter in the city. But you're thinking already locally 60 kilometers around, 200 kilometers around. This is already huge compared to the past. When my father has an analog business, was thinking 5-10 kilometers around. Now we're thinking local is already to digital 200 kilometers. And this is, I think, a huge change. Then AI is changing the advertisement and the business channels, the processes in the company, but also the contact with the clients. But still, advertisement is relevant. It is still a way to reach certain people you say also, my clients want to have advertisement, I think it's always related to the consumer, because not everybody's using AI. It's still important, but it's already a shift. Thinking sometimes on legislation, we're thinking on legislation, and this product is not existing anymore. It's not relevant in the next time. But that this is a very big shift, and that the SMEs we often underestimating. We're thinking they have even not a website. Sonja, what you're planning, what you're making a journey with the digitalization, this shows you that SMEs are from the beginning with it on board. And also Elena, what she's planning transforming in a sector where the majority is still not digitalized really. I think this is the journey was very early for some SMEs already, and some sectors are starting now, where we are already discussing AI. They are starting perhaps to make the easiest process digitalized. So the level and the interests of SMEs are totally different. That we have to think globally, at the same time locally totally different. Locally is not anymore 5 kilometers the quarter of the city anymore. Locally is nearly half Bavaria or Brussels, larger metropolitan area, and not the quarter anymore. I think this is a positive change. And now, Angelo is still here. The wishes are coming, and he will write it down. Perhaps he can also forward this to the decision makers or in the commission who are perhaps also responsible for this. Tom, you are always a good communicator. You are allowed to start.
Personally, just on the communication side of things, and just the low barrier of entry is crucial. There are some natural barriers that we all have to deal with in terms of sovereignty and the single market. Like we have 27 member states with all different cultures, different languages. And so some of the ambition of the Commission will be tempered by just practical realities of, if I register in Ireland, how do I provide good services to people in Slovenia, for instance, if we speak different languages? So there's some aspects of that that's going to be natural kind of lethargy between by merging all the markets together. But one thing I think will be good is to focus on how we can improve how telecoms networks like my own interoperate with other telecoms networks in the EU. And that is just by simple rules, like with large packets, allowing large packets between different networks. Because if you think about it, you'll never cross just one network between Ireland and Italy, for instance. You're going to cross multiple networks. And so what we would like to see is recognition of the likes of internet exchange points, stuff like that, which have been valuable, which, like for instance, in Ireland, there's an internet exchange point, and its turnover is probably less than €1.5 million a year. Yet it actually transfers probably 60% of the traffic in Ireland. And that's such a useful thing. And when we're transmitting traffic on that, we're actually reducing the costs of the networks themselves and the other participants in the digital ecosystem vis-a-vis content providers, hosting providers, and indeed other ISPs. So it's a win-win situation. And it's a technical solution to a technical problem that I would like to see maybe a little bit more importance attached to them, because they've been hugely important for our experience in the digital ecosystem. And so it's recognizing technical solutions to technical problems rather than maybe solving problems that don't exist, in terms of, and that would be kind of things like, unfortunately, the whole network fees debate and stuff like that. So that would be the key thing for us, is to, focus on encouraging people to work together rather than, I suppose, creating conditions that could increase costs to the consumer. And that would be like network fees type scenarios, which unfortunately there seems to be residues of that debate still ongoing in the DNA. And that's a concern for us. But I think the low barrier of entry is the key thing, and just enable people to just, and that's the beauty of the internet. It kind of evolved on it, in such a beautiful way. Like, you've got about 80,000 networks on the internet today. They're all independent. They're all sharing a very simple common standard, and it allows connectivity. And it's a really beautiful thing. Like Betsy works for Google. They started in a garage the same way as I did, although they had a slightly different trajectory upwards. But like it's that enabler, it's that great leveler. It's like anyone could do it, even I can do it, and I would like to keep that. If I don't want it to be I don't want the internet to be regulated into the ground, because I think it's something that actually connects us all, and we're all talking about digital connectivity. And that is it's the beautiful thing about people being able to start up a business and sell globally. Like I can think of woolen, when Betsy was talking about woolen scarves and stuff like that. There's Ballyartella, there's John Hanley. Like, I could see Tipperary ones. And what did I do? I searched for them online, and then I was able to actually find them. And so I think it's a part of a good news story. And I'd like that good news story of the internet to continue.
Thank you so much. Then, Werner Witte, please, the floor is yours.
Okay. As I mentioned before, I'm a lucky one with my internet connection here. So what I think it's need to be done, AI is so fast and the law is always behind. And if you're using AI, you need to have the background that what you're using is regular. So it's not illegal what you're doing with AI. And that should be legalized and you know what you're doing.
I understand this uncertainty is this problem, that you don't know if it's wrong or not what you're doing at the moment. I think this is also pretending to implement AI because or new technology, because you're thinking, oh, it's more risk to implement it and I makes broken the law, then I get the advantage out of it. This
Definitely,
is,
yeah.
This is a huge problem, I think, for SMEs who feel them uncertain. Sonia, please, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you very much. For me, fair competition, I know it's perhaps not a digital question, but it's in my business is very important because we see the things are going on. Platforms who are importing unsafe products. And in my business, babies and children, protect them and give them safe products is very important. So for me, is a fair competition essential because we in Europe, we have all the costs. We have to pay a lot of taxes and so on. Yeah, rules must be equally enforced. For me, that's also important. I have also said that the retailers carry full compliance cost. Digitalization is a long and difficult and risky trajectory. So yes, I think that Europe can do a lot. I'm also thinking of transport and logistic questions, and you mentioned it. That we are now exporting abroad. For Belgium, it's easy. Belgium is a small country, so we are fast in the Benelux, in the Netherlands, and in Luxembourg, and Deutschland and France. But the languages, that's another question for us. So when it would be possible to environmental standards to implement that, I think it would be a better thing for us. Now there are different costs to transportation, to resend the product, and so on. So I think there is also taxes, safety of products. Now we have seen it that it's a small, how must I say, it's a small protection, very little. So it's a pity that Europe didn't do the things they has to do, and so now we see the bad things that are coming here in Europe. So I can perhaps say that the digital tools can strengthen rural retail, but only within a fair and balanced market environment. And innovation must go hand in hand with enforcement. And growth is sustainable only when competition is fair. So I think this is in my business is a very important thing. And also we have physical stores. It's very difficult to be everywhere online and also in physical stores, and to manage a team and to do the things in the own organization. And we have a small marketing team, we have a logistic team, we have a shop managers and their team. And people are more and more online shopping, do more and more online shopping. So we have to be everywhere, and that's a big opportunity, but also difficult.
Thank you so much. I think this, what you say, is the fairness of time, and so this that you introduce high standards and then product come on the market who have not the same standards, and this is difficult. But it's also what you're saying. This many channels means also that it's becoming more complex. It's not anymore easy to be a small company. You have to be online, digital, analog. So this makes it really not so easy. Opportunities, like I say, but we need the education and help. And I think this is this guidance by the public sector, but also by the private sector, like the European Union and the member states have their programs, but also Google or others have also programs. Elena, what is your wish?
My wish, especially for speaking for all the kind of businesses in my sector, especially, I would say it's just mainly two big wishes, which are the better access to funding, especially for software related products. So like really like the software that we can implement it to companies to just change and the whole sector, how the whole sector is running, and just boost it to a higher level. That mainly. And then also just a slimmer bureaucracy, because the bureaucracy burden is really something that is killing a lot of companies that are trying to make this big step, you know. So having a slimmer bureaucracy, but also a better like reduce really like the legal requirements maybe, and just put some more focus on the actual impact of certain projects that in the digital like for the digital topic, then would really help companies to make this big step without being always like stopped by a barrier. There could be a legal barrier, or it could be a financial barrier, or this kind of things.
This is important. We got also such a message from Mario Bartenhauser, who says many of the SMEs would like to go, would be not only be local, but they have this regulation, custom procedures, administrative complexity. They are afraid, but there's also linked to Werner, to start with it, because it is not so easy, like Sonia also says, and this makes it complex. It should be easy.
And also, if it's not easy, then people do not engage in it, and the cost of certain softwares, and they just remain very high for many small and medium enterprises.
Okay. Then if costs and digitalization and so on becoming, of course, to Google and then to the Commission finally, what are your wishes to the European Union, on what perhaps with feedback already?
Who starts?
That's it. That's it. The Commission is the final solution.
Final word. Okay. Very simply, my wish is a more innovation-friendly Europe and maybe a more pro-business Europe that really takes into account the day-to-day life of small businesses.
This is very practical, short, and clear message. Angelo, so you must be more confident. It's nothing, not new, but what you are doing for it now, fast, please. Your feedback for these messages.
Yeah, no. I mean, thank you all. It's really interesting to hear all these perspectives, these dialogues that we were having with Tom also. It was nice to see. We didn't do it on purpose, but we literally met last week during events in Brussels, discussing the DNA, the Digital Networks Act, which is this effort that DigiConnect is leading in trying to rethink the regulatory framework of telecoms in Europe. Me, of course, I can speak for myself. I wish. What I wish Commission would do, what I wish Commission would do is, of course, to take on board all this opinion that you have. I totally what I'm advocating for and what I'm trying to do in my position is making sure that really what this motto and what this claims that we say, like leaving no one behind, making sure that there is the right to stay, right to return, whatever you want to say, are not going to be simply just a motto and claims thrown just for policy purposes and some catchy social media copy. So I really believe that the final point that I want to say is that I really believe that rural areas, especially with all the efforts that we are doing now, gigafactories, the connectivity in rural areas can really be the central point. And SMEs have always been the backbone, especially the medium and the small and the medium-sized SMEs have always been the backbone of the economy in many European countries. So more attention to the needs and to the asks of such entities, making sure that they really are at the forefront and put at the center of our policy efforts. This ambition of really leaving no one behind, as I said, not just as a claim, but as really with concrete efforts and facts, which I hope and I believe that this commission is trying to do. So yeah, this in short is my message.
Thank you so much, Tom. We have to come to the end. We are too late. So I wish you really, it was a fruitful debate, and we should make a follow-up because it's very complex. I think we should make one only about infrastructure, one only about digital advertisement, one only about AI, because there are so many topics. But I think to see once that complexity, but you have to deal every time, and then especially in the rural area, is a challenge, but in the end, also a huge chance. And we should give these opportunities and to make it happening that SMEs can stay rural, it can be independent and prosper. And I think this was a good start. We will send the report to Böselager, so he will not come away to not read us. And thank you so much. We stay in contact, please. Thank you.